Kim here. Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin brief for Monday, August 4th. Hope you had a good weekend. I took some time off, both in regards to this weekend because we had a busy weekend with the family, and also with Bitcoin briefs in general. Been trying to prioritize. I've been juggling a lot of things. Some of you guys know I actually am also a CMO, and I have other businesses, things like that. So had a big uptick in business related things, so I had to take a back seat for this. But good news is I found a way to put them back in. It's usually temporary, so we will just look at Bitcoin here for the most part. So we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. About half this video will be Bitcoin to give us that context. Mainly going to be like the daily time frame. We will cover the weekly just a little bit and the monthly, but I'll do a more exhaustive look on that tomorrow with observations with Otsu, or actually technically today. But we will mainly look at Bitcoin here. We'll look at Ethereum, Solana on the daily and 4-hour time frames, and just trying to see how things look. And if you've been paying attention to my tweets and that lately, I'm not as bullish as a lot of people are. In fact, I have been pretty vocal, somewhat vocal, I should say, that I think the cycle could be over. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow. Am I certain about that? No, absolutely not. Do I think I'm suspicious of this? Yes, I do. And also, there's a lot of people that are targeting people that think that is a top, and they're really kind of doing kind of a hunt for those kind of people. It's really weird. This is the type of the exchange that happens towards top cycles to begin with, and I do want to address that. I'll save most of that for observations with Otsu, but I do think summarizing all this, not to bore you as well, we have to stay vigilant. We have to look at what the charts are saying. Do not look at your emotions for anything. You should not be looking for your emotions on the bull side or the bear side. When it comes to trading, when it comes to analysis, you really have to focus on the data. And so it helps that I've been here for 3 cycles and I just don't have any emotions left. But don't look at the euphoria, and better yet, look for people. Not necessarily, don't hunt them out, right? But if you see a lot of people being euphoric, that could be a telltale sign. Look at how analyze tweets as well. If people are being over bullish for no real reason, or if they're doing it to kind of cope, or if projects are being supported with either no use case or really dumb use cases, that's also a sign. And those don't have to be signs. I need to be clear about that. Same way it goes for the bear side also, but we're not in the bear side. But we did look at that when it came down here back then, where a lot of people were very bearish at the lows. And I do remember a lot of people, not a lot, I'd say maybe like 5 to 7 people blocking me. I think I had to kind of disassociate with a few. Really strange and unfortunate. But that's that emotion that people get when it comes to the extremes. And you got to be aware of that. And so, do I think that we are getting towards an extreme? Yes, I do think that. I don't necessarily think the top is in. I'll show you what I'm looking at, though. So let's get started here. We'll look at Bitcoin, and then, like I said, Ethereum, Solana. Well, I'm going to focus briefly on the monthly. I don't normally look at the monthly, but I think it's relevant right here, and so we'll get rid of that. We're getting close. Actually, we rejected this. I actually quite like the fact that we rejected a lot, relatively speaking, because this gives us some room to move upwards again. And for those of you that may be newer to my channels or my account, things like that, like I will unintentionally piss you off, because I don't tend to really go on one extreme. I tend to kind of play it safe. I'm very hyper analytical. I look at I look at bad things as good things because bad things can lead to good things, right? And so that's where that's not going to be pleasing to people that are hyper bullish, and I think, well, maybe we should go to 110,000 first before we go to 150,000. Like, there's some people that would unfollow me because of that, which I think is really stupid. And just go ahead and unfollow me now, because I'm not going to suit your style, and I'm not here to suit your style. I'm here to look at what I see on the data and the charts. So, but I think this is a good thing that we actually drop back a little bit. Gives us some breathing room here. Kind of also reset the RSI just a little bit, just a little hair, about 71. And I think this is fine. This actually also gets rid of this divergence. Or no, it's still active. Never mind. I forgot about up here. So the divergence is still in play for the monthly. And I've made mention to this, sprinkled out for the past, really this whole candle, is that that's something that I'm looking at as far as like cycle ending, like divergences. Like we whenever we get a monthly div, which to be fair has only happened one other time, it tends to be, actually no, it's twice actually. We had one here, and then we also had another one. Was it? I think maybe this. I think this one counts as well. So, so this one was a cycle ending drop, right? This one was not, and this is why I think it doesn't have to be a cycle ending thing. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to spend too much time for this. I want to focus more on daily and weeklies. But for the top here to the bottom here was about 19-20%, and so that's something that we could see now. The problem is if we go too far lower, we're going to get a deviation on this, and so the big deviation for the monthly is going to be right here at 102. Just above 102,000. So if we dip below 102,000, in my opinion, cycle's over. Okay, that's where I'm going to take out all of my cryptocurrency, positions, except for the ones that are long term, which is usually just Bitcoin, and go with that one. So that's what I'm looking at. Unfortunately, now the good news is I think that we're still quite a ways from that. We could also drop here and then consolidate and move forward, which is what I think that we are going to do. I think that we're actually going to drop here for the next 60 to 90 days, and then we are going to reload and have a really good Q4, really good end of the year as far as the charts go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I think could print on the charts. For the next 24 hours, I don't think the markets are going to look good. It's all green right now, but I think it's going to be red. For those of you that might be going to bed right now and waking up in the morning, I think come U.S. stocks open, I think it's going to be red. Coinbase in particular, I believe, is down 17%. I think that's also another look here. Pretty big drop down. I'm not saying that's necessarily indicative. Not really even saying it's correlation. But we can try to look at that, okay, and analyze that. So let's go ahead. I mean, that's pretty much it for the monthly. I'm just keeping an eye on that. Now, as far as the divergence, it's not super high like it was here. So that is another indication that we could consolidate and then move higher. Weekly, really the only thing I want to mention on the weekly is that we had the drop down. We had the consolidation for about 3 weeks, had the drop down. I was kind of looking for that, honestly. And this is what this looks like on the daily. That we had this consolidation and then we dropped. We talked about this in the premium chat last week, that we were looking for either a break above or breakdown. Had the breakdown. I think we discussed a short position. If we did, we didn't really, we didn't trade it. We just discussed it. But this was already marked out as a retest area. This is exactly what we got. Now, as far as this goes, though, this still doesn't look healthy to me. So let me backtrack. I'm going to share you the good parts first, then I'll share you the bad news with this. So as far as the good news is, we retested this. So it's a very solid retest, very textbook. Quite like this. We also retested the low end here on the RSI, which is good. Relatively healthy bounce. The consolidation for the A-Run is at 92% to 7, so that's pretty good. It's like 85%. That's pretty wide. It's about as wide as you can get. I think you can go one notch higher, but that's a pretty wide bullish consolidation. That means bulls have a really high probable chance to not let this come down. Okay, to not let the price lower, which will help the consolidation theory that I have on the monthly. Now, one thing I want to do is redraw this on the daily here, and you already have a push up here, and you're already rejecting here where this wick is. So this tells me that the demand is not quite mature just yet, and so we could see this coming back down. I'm personally kind of looking for a red couple days actually, getting lower down here, getting the bullish divergence, possibly even a deviation, and then bounce back higher. It's completely possible that we could deviate and diverge at this line again here in a few days, and then go higher, and then that would be suitable, and that wouldn't destroy any high time frame theories necessarily. So I think we're in a tricky market right now. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I think people are starting to get, not necessarily blind, but I think people are kind of unconcerned about dips and things like that. Like, we're getting to the point where people are longing their longs. I've seen people lose $30 million off of a small trade. I've seen people talking about that have been here as long as I have that said they lost 7 figures for longing Ethereum like a few days ago, and I'm like, this is just silly. I mean, I hope you got enough money where you don't care. But that's all I gotta say, because you should not be longing high leverage on tops. It's the dumbest thing. I've talked about this before. I have not made a dedicated video on that. I probably should, but you should not be adding, like, there's a certain time to long your longs. And it's not at the top. It's when momentum is taking place. There's a big difference, okay? Because yes, you can long your longs as we get closer to the hope stage and almost euphoria stage, but there's a certain time where that takes place. That's where you got to understand momentum, okay? If you don't understand trend and momentum, you should, okay? Because something can be trendy and not have momentum. And if bulls are trending but they don't have momentum, then you're not getting the R&R that it's worth. Therefore, your risk is going to increase, okay? And this is why I really discuss risk to reward. How much are you risking? Okay, because that's going to tell you what's going on. You should never just like full send your entire portfolio because you have a feeling that the market might go up. That's completely stupid. And the worst thing that could happen is that actually goes your way, because it's going to reinforce you to do it again and again and again. And that's exactly the same mentality that gamblers have, and most chronic gamblers have in common, is that they lose their money. Okay, so you should not be treating this as a way to gamble, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm a very big anti-gambler. I am totally against it, because it reinforces this belief that you can always have a chance to win at everything. And technically, the odds are available, but you got to understand how small that is, where it's almost zero. Okay, and especially, the point I'm trying to make is you can't reinforce that as a practice. Okay, you're letting the odds roll to and getting that success based off that chance. Okay, whereas other things like trading, like risk management and statistical management and things like that, that can be gambled. I'm aware of that, but it's also like statistical application and things like that. You can put a method to it. You can prevent losses. Like there's strategies you can put in place to make that a system. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Now, it's not what I want to talk about today necessarily, but that plays into how a lot of people on CT are behaving. It's like, well, we're getting ready to break out, or we have breaking out on Bitcoin, and Ethereum looking pretty good. It's time to get in and long your longs and go crazy. And it's not as crazy as you think it is. There's triggers that you need to see the momentum go higher. We have not gotten that yet. Now we are close. But just be aware of that, okay? And I say this all the time, and I'll move on, I promise. I say this all the time, to not rely on your emotions. Don't rely on it. You look at data. In my opinion, my educated opinion, you look at data, look at algorithms, look at statistics, use risk management, keep yourself out of trouble, use common sense. Emotions very rarely consistently help you. Let's put it that way. So anyway, so that's Bitcoin. I think the retest looks good here, but I think it's too early to say one way or the other. with the Arum band here, you have this rejection at the bear side. I think we're going to come down. I think we're going to come back down to like the 111, 110. Probably cause a divergence. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Not saying that we'll get it, but that's kind of what I'm eyeballing right now. But I think this is all. I think we're in stasis right now. I think not trading, I guess, is probably the best option in my opinion. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum is up almost 1%. You get the same situation here. I talked about this last week. So for those of you that are in premium, or maybe you're not, I did close my long here to like 3,400. It was from way back at like 2,300. Had the divergence. Okay, it did go up almost to 4,000. Rejected the $4,000 range at the divergence. Hit below the mid. Rejected again below the band, and now retesting below the band. And so now we're finally getting that gradual retest. My reaccumulation theory is also out the window for those of you that are in premium, because we did fall below the band, and so that doesn't count no more. If you're a bull, you want this to come back above the band and reclaim 3630. Okay, that's pretty simple with that. But this looks like a bearish retest. This is clear as day to me. Unless this changes, this is exactly what should have been playing out. And so this is why I'm not in a rush to long something. And also too, like, you should only be longing or trading something where you have statistical likelihood of something happening in your favor. Okay, if you look at pattern recognition, for example, it's not perfect. None of this is perfect. But let's say with a certain pattern recognition, like, let's say you have like a 90% chance things go your way. Well, then you do the thing that that is a catalyst for that 90%, right? And so I say that to say divergences are not perfect, but they are well documented to, at a minimum, reduce your return, and therefore increasing your risk. Okay, or they're cycle tops or what have you. Okay, and so and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But the point is, like, divergences combined statistically have a high chance of affecting the trend and the momentum in some way or another. And so that's one reason I decided to cut my wins. And it was a very solid trade. And now we're trading just around where I sold. Okay, so. But right now with Ethereum, we have the bearish retest here at the 3,500, bearish retest at 3,600 as well. If we reclaim the 3,633, we're doing good. If not, I think we're going to continue to reject. The next look here is about 2,950. Well, we could dip below the 3,000 mark again. Hopefully we don't, but that is an option. Let's go to Solana here, about break even for the day. These are the trades that we were looking at. I believe I may have closed these. I'll have to, that's a premium thing anyway, but these are the positions that we were looking at. Had a good marker here. I think I actually closed it way up here. Now that I'm thinking about that. So, but with this, had the breakdown here, hitting below this low line here. Again, another retest. Now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are giving us bearish retests. To me, that is a concern. Okay, and so that's why I think that this might be a green market for those of you in the States that are waking up around stocks open. I think it might be a red day. So we'll see. I am under the opinion that I don't think this is tradable right now. I would like to wait for a good reclaim. A lot of these are bearish on the daily now, as an indication by the discoloration of the bands. So I'm okay sitting on the sideline for a few days. And so, again, until that risk to reward goes back in my favor as a bull. So anyway, that is the video for premium. You have another video coming up next. We have 6 coins to discuss. We're going to take a look at those. But let me know what you think, one way or the other. Happy to chat. And if you're not in premium, you want to, go ahead and check my link in the bio on X. I'll see you next time. Have a good day.